In the news tonight, Barbados' president pays tribute to Britain's Queen Elizabeth II, who passed away today. A clinical psychologist called for a cultural shift in the way sexual crimes are dealt with. Barbados to be part of a Caribbean air pollution study. And in sports, Royals going for win number 4 tonight in CPL 2022.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Broom. Thank you so much for tuning in. In our top story tonight, Britain's Queen Elizabeth II has died at the age of 96. The longest reigning monarch in British history, spanning 70 years. She was up until late last year Barbados' head of state. This afternoon, President of Barbados, Dame the Most Honourable Sandra Mason, extended condolences to the royal family and the people of the United Kingdom. While the death ends an era, Dame Sandra believes there are lessons that can be taken from her reign.
While her passing marks the end of an era, her reign will forever represent the kind of stoic determination our world has required of its leaders over the past century, but which, sadly, we have not always been able to witness. And today, given the most precarious position facing the world and the threat it poses to the well-being of millions, we may all find a most valuable lesson in the strength of character and concern for humanity that were so much a feature of her 70 years on the British throne.
Despite Barbados' transition from British monarchy to Republican status, Dame Sandra says the friendship between the two nations and indeed with Buckingham Palace did not change. She adds Britain's Queen Elizabeth will hold a special place in the hearts of Barbadians.
Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II will always hold a special place in our hearts, and we in Barbados will always treasure the memories of her visits to the island, in particular on Wednesday, the 19th of February 1975, when she knighted our first national hero, the Right Excellent Sir Garfield Sobers, on the Garrison Savannah.
And Barbadians and some British citizens here have been reacting to the news of the British Queen's passing.
I'm pretty sad about it, to be honest. Look, growing up and just seeing her everywhere, it kind of has that impact on you. Like, oh my God, she's dead. What should I do? It just has that feeling on you.
It's been a sad day for the British, but I'm glad for Charles. He waited a long time.
She's been a figure, and it is hard to say that you wouldn't miss her. I, for one, would not say that I wouldn't miss her. So that's just my view. I send my deepest condolence.
I'm a British citizen, so she lived a very long life, and God bless her and her family in this time of mourning.
The late head of the Commonwealth will be mourned around the globe as one of the last monarchs born to a classic age of European royalty when kings and queens wielded genuine political power. Her death comes 7 months after she marked the 70th anniversary of her ascension to the throne, yet another milestone in her remarkable life. During her reign, Britain was transformed from a war-weary, declining imperial power to a modern, multicultural state that rarely looked to its monarch for leadership, but still held her in high esteem.
December 1936, a moment that forever shaped a young girl's life. After ruling less than a year, King Edward VIII abdicated the throne to his brother.
A new reign began in Britain as the Duke of York was crowned King George VI.
Making King George's eldest daughter, then Princess Elizabeth, known as Lilibet to family, next in line to the throne. 10 years later, marked a marriage. The couple would go on to have 4 children. In 1953, Queen Elizabeth II was crowned, the first to be broadcast live on television.
A storybook queen who wrote bright pages in the story of the year.
The Queen kept a busy schedule of diplomatic duties, traveling across the globe more widely than any other monarch before her, meeting with just about every U.S. president since being crowned. With no political power, the Queen wielded the influence of a figurehead. In her private life, things weren't always easy. Her 40th anniversary on the throne marred by separation, divorce, and estrangement in her children's marriages, and a fire at Windsor Castle.
It has turned out to be an annus horribilis.
Then in 1997, the death of the People's Princess. Through it all, Prince Philip was, in the Queen's words, the strength and stay of her reign. He died in 2021 before his 100th birthday after more than 70 years of marriage.
It's just been one of the great royal romances, I think, of history.
Queen Elizabeth's son, King Charles III, said the death of his beloved mother was a moment of great sadness for him and his family, and that her loss would be deeply felt around the world. He added they would mourn profoundly the passing of a cherished sovereign and a much-loved mother. According to him, her loss will be deeply felt throughout the country, the realms and the Commonwealth, and by countless people around the world. During the coming period, he said he and his family would be comforted and sustained by their knowledge of the respect and deep affection in which the Queen was so widely held. And Barbadian freelance journalist, presenter and content producer Sophia Alsop, who is in the UK, says there was a palpable feeling of concern, sober reflection and anxiety today as that news broke.
Queen Elizabeth II was, of course, a figure of global significance, indeed the most travelled monarch in history. She's been a constant presence in the political and social life of the United Kingdom. So whatever you're feeling on the monarchy, it is indisputable that Queen Elizabeth was a monarch who commanded tremendous respect, not just here in the United Kingdom, but throughout the Commonwealth which she leads, and indeed globally. Her reign spanned 15 British prime ministers, starting with Winston Churchill, and of course she saw a dozen US presidents during her reign. In the most recent photograph released of her, the Queen did indeed appear frail, although very engaged and smiling. The photograph was released just 2 days ago when she invited 47-year-old Liz Truss to form a government following the resignation of former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Queen Elizabeth, as many may know, has visited Barbados at least 4 times since independence. She was in Barbados in 1975, then again in 1977, the Silver Jubilee year for her. She was with us again in 1985, and then finally in 1989. That last visit in 1989 coincided with the 350th anniversary of the Barbados Parliament. So during the day today, a flight arrived at Aberdeen International Airport in Scotland just before 4 o'clock local time, carrying 2 of the Queen's children, Prince Andrew and Prince Edward, as well as the Duke of Cambridge, Prince William, her grandson. It is understood that the rest of the family was already at Balmoral, or at least in Scotland. It's an extraordinary coincidence also that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Prince Harry, and his wife Meghan are also in the UK. They're on a trip which initially was to have lasted just a few days, with engagements for their various charities both in the UK as well as in Dusseldorf in Germany. It's understood that Prince Harry was also to join the family at Balmoral today. His Majesty King Charles III, who was in Barbados last November as we transitioned from realm to republic, he was Prince Charles, the Prince of Wales at that time, remains at Balmoral tonight, but will return to London tomorrow, Friday. He has said in his statement that the death of his mother is a moment of great sadness for all members of the family, that she was a cherished sovereign, a much-loved mother, and that her loss would be felt throughout the country, the realms and the Commonwealth, and by countless people around the world.
Meanwhile, Secretary General of the Commonwealth of Nations, the Right Honourable the Baroness Patricia Scotland, has paid tribute to the late Queen Elizabeth II. She described the Queen as an extraordinary person who lived an extraordinary life. Baroness Scotland noted through her 7-decade-long reign, which involved extraordinary change and challenge, the Queen was the epitome of duty, stability, wisdom, and grace. She says before ascending to the throne, the Queen promised to dedicate her life to the service of the Commonwealth, and she honoured that promise. Baroness Scotland says the Commonwealth and the world will miss her greatly. And coming up on Newsnight, a call for a new approach to dealing with sexual crimes. Stay with us. There's a view Barbados needs a cultural shift in the way it views sexual crimes, particularly those involving children. It's coming from clinical psychologist and assistant lecturer at the UWI Cave Hill, Dr. Catherine Trotman, who is worried about the incidence of child abuse.
A second thing that we really need in Barbados is to move past this culture of silence that we have around sexual offences. It should not be on the victim to have to go through all of the steps and the sometimes years that it takes for them to report abuse. And we have to move away from this idea that we need to protect abusers, because this is something that happens constantly. Well, my darling would never do this. He's a good man, he would never do that. We automatically don't believe the victim.
Dr. Trotman notes the fallout from these crimes can be lasting.
There were strong associations between these traumatic events and poor physical and mental health. So I'm not just talking about depression, anxiety, but I'm talking about picking up habits, for example, and addictions. I'm talking about mental health disorders, but I'm also talking about physical health disorders.
Given the number of people who fall sick due to air pollution, Barbados will be part of a Caribbean air pollution initiative launched by the UWI Cave Hill-based Centre for Biosecurity. The study aims to look at the air pollution challenges, as these emissions are a serious public health threat globally and in the region, and are also linked to chronic non-communicable diseases such as asthma, strokes, and cardiovascular disease. The study is funded by the Pan American Health Organization and the World Health Organization. Director of the Centre for Biosecurity, Dr. Kirk Douglas, says alongside this study, the Barbados Fire Service will also be working with the centre to strengthen its fire data collection.
Results from a study that the WHO had launched estimates that almost the entire global population, this is about 99% of persons right around the globe, breathe air that exceeds the WHO air quality limits. And this is from around like 6,000 cities in over 117 countries. They are all doing air quality monitoring. However, there needs to be action to complement that monitoring, because monitoring only frames what a problem looks like, but then you have to take action.
Dr. Douglas also spoke about some of the health conditions that can arise.
Non-communicable diseases, everyone would be quite aware of the link between inhaling poor quality air and asthma, because those are some of the triggers for asthma. And also you have chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, which some people on the island do suffer from. But then there are the other non-communicable diseases such as strokes and hypertension.
Another COVID-19 death was recorded yesterday, September 7th. A 92-year-old man lost his life as a result of the virus. His death has increased the number of casualties from COVID-19 to 556. Minister of Health and Wellness Ian Gooding-Edgell has extended his condolences to the elderly man's family and friends. Meanwhile, a total of 51 new COVID-19 cases, 24 males and 27 females, were recorded from the 334 tests carried out on Wednesday, September 7th by laboratories across the island. Of the positive cases, 3 people were under the age of 18 and 48 were 18 years and older. There were 51 people in isolation facilities, while 606 were in home isolation. The labs conducted 758,505 tests since February 2020 and recorded 101,747 COVID-19 cases. Now, under the National Vaccination Program for COVID-19, the total number of people with at least one dose is 163,365, while the total number of fully vaccinated is 154,473. A local women's wellness coach wants to see the introduction of more policies to ensure women are happy and comfortable in the workplace. 2022 Chevening scholar Renee Critchlow is hoping she can bring about the change she wants to see when she returns to the island after completing her studies. Sharika Griffith has that story.
In an ideal world, women in Barbados with severe menstrual cycle issues would be given extra time home. That's just one of the policies women's wellness coach and 2022 Chevening scholar Renee Critchlow hopes to see introduced.
Because we have situations, and I would say that I am one of those persons that do have issues where you might be forcing to go to work, but you are in a lot of pain and cannot function well. If there is something that a fund or a policy that can supplement these women so that they will not be thinking, all right, I have to go to work because if I don't go to work, then I'm not going to make the money, or I have to wait for sick benefits, things like that.
Critchlow spoke to CBC News as she prepares to leave the island to begin a Master's in Public Health and Wellbeing at the University of West London. Having started a women's wellness business, React Fitness, 10 years ago, she's been pursuing certifications with the intention to help women in different stages of their lives, including perimenopause.
We might have a situation where a woman is having a hot flush or hot flashes, which word you want to use, and it can be uncomfortable. Things like brain fog will happen. You might not be thinking clearly, and sometimes you're still expected to perform like a man in those situations. So if it is like a policy that can help women go through that phase, or, well, I would say and education, more education in terms of employers understanding that women are going to go through these things, that it might not necessarily be at top level all the time.
Dedicated breast milk pumping stations are another feature she hopes will make it easier for mothers in the workplace. Wellness during pregnancy is also high on her agenda.
I would like to see some more OBGYNs being very open to the aspect of women exercising during pregnancy when they're low risk, because I would have approached some OBGYNs. Some of them were open. So like Dr. Archer and Dr. Durham, Dr. Thomas, they were very open to that. But there's some others that would have told their clients, I don't see why you need to exercise, you just need to walk. World Health Organization states that women in their pregnancy should be exercising. And we have this big issue with non-communicable diseases. What a woman does during her pregnancy is going to transfer onto her child.
When she returns to Barbados in a year's time, Ms. Critchlow is hoping to use her new knowledge to help formulate policies such as these to make life easier for women at work. Ultimately, her dream is to have a network of people and services that can help women, and a physical space where they can exercise, have a spa treatment, grab a healthy meal, or even sleep, if that's what they need. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.
Thanks, Sharika. Well, the National Housing Corporation is doing its utmost to clear a backlog of applicants to ensure previous and new additions to the list become homeowners. General Manager Ian Gill gave the assurance at a recent housing fair for the security forces.
We continue to work on that backlog, and those who are in the backlog will be prioritized. In fact, it is our intention to make sure that that backlog, which is growing, it was previously 18,000, I understand it's moving towards 20,000, and it has in at this present just over 4,000 civil servants. Am I correct in saying that? And a majority of those civil servants still want to have housing. Therefore, we are making sure that we can deal with that backlog, but at the same time, we intend that those young people across this country, the young professionals, etc., across this country will have an opportunity to also own homes.
The NHC's general manager also provided an update on the 350 Juravilla houses expected to arrive from Guyana in the coming weeks.
We are ordering 350 houses from Juravilla, Guyana. That is confirmed. We are preparing the contractual arrangements, but as you know, Cabinet must approve that we do order, and the monies for this will come from the Housing Credit Fund. With that in mind, we expect that there are so many people across this country who can gain mortgages. And it is being proven by the amount of mortgage certificates that are coming in.
Tonight's business report is brought to you by ANSA Merchant Bank. Our greatest asset is you.
Barbadian Mark St. Hill is the first Caribbean national to become the Chief Executive Officer of CIBC First Caribbean International Bank. He brings over 30 years' experience to the office. The appointment is the fourth consecutive appointment of a regional person to an executive position in the bank, and he told the business report he's looking forward to leading the team.
And creative people, and I look forward to leading them in continuing to deliver the best products and services for all of our clients.
A fellow of the British Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators, the bank official says he's looking forward to strengthening the bank's position in the region.
These are very exciting times for us, and as we leverage our digital capabilities, we are ensuring that we are the bank of first choice across the region.
Mr. St. Hill will succeed Colette Delaney, who made history when she was named the first woman to be appointed to the role. People are at the center of Sagicor's Helping Hands program. Executive Vice President and General Manager Paul Innes told a virtual launching ceremony today the initiative is part of the company's corporate social responsibility program.
Our CSR program is comprised of 4 pillars, and they are health, community and youth development, sport, and education. Each project we've launched under our group CSR, which speaks to projects we do together as a Southern Caribbean team, seeks to also provide support in these areas. Our annual Pinktober campaign brings awareness to breast cancer and screening for early detection. Our revamped Adopt a School program was launched last year with a focus on supporting selected schools and the achievement of their educational goals.
The company officials said non-governmental organizations stand to benefit as they have a greater reach in society and need support.
With initiatives like Helping Hands, Sagicor is desirous of leading and reinforcing the power of generosity to make a difference in the lives of others and in our lives too. We're excited about this initiative, and we're hopeful that you will journey with us as we support and help tell the stories of the NGOs that we have selected. Because by sharing, we influence the impact which they will have on their efforts, and we will be able to reach more people with the intent that more people will receive support.
And that's our news for tonight. On behalf of the entire team, thank you so much for joining us. Good night.
Thanks for visiting us. To get more stories like this one, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.